So, you should be studying right now, but instead you're watching this video. What the hell are you doing? I mean, come on. I'm joking, guys. I'm so glad you're here because look, let's face it, you don't want to study right now. I probably don't want to study right now. There are a lot of times when people just don't want to study, and I'm going to give you some advice on what to do whenever you really don't want to study and how to do it even when you don't feel like it, because that is a true skill. We all know that consistency is key to success in any human endeavor, right? And so in particular, studying and getting good grades, we all need to be having a consistent study schedule, and sticking to it is difficult, and I'm going to show you how to make it easier. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first fundamental thing is that you need to develop a learning system. A lot of times we feel like we don't want to study because we just don't know how to, right? We're never actually taught in school how to study, and we're just expected to know and do it on our own, even though we get no instruction or guidance. But it's 2024, you have YouTube, you have me, you have a ton of resources out there, and you need to start honing in your studies, your learning system. I'm gonna go over a quick structure of a learning system that I use and is sort of like the fundamental main parts of a good learning system. And that is going to be, first you have priming or pre-study, and then you have your in-class note-taking technique, and then you have your spacing, interleaved retrieval practice after class and leading up to the exams. You need to have a structured learning system, because if you don't, you're not going to really know how to approach studying in the first place, and that's going to add to the friction of not wanting to study. We want to fix that by reducing the friction as much as possible by creating a structured learning system, so you know exactly when you're studying, how you're going to study, the techniques you're going to use, etc. If you'd like more information on my particular learning system, let me know down in the comments. But yes, the first step is develop a learning system. The second big thing, you need to have a clear goal. Because if you don't have a clear goal, you don't even know what you're supposed to be studying for. You're going to lose motivation really quickly. It's going to be a lot harder to get past those humps whenever you really don't want to study, and that happens a lot, right? That's why you're watching this video. So what I would do is I would have your goal score or goal grade or goal GPA in mind, right? So for me in particular, my goal was to get 5s on every single AP exam I ever took, right? From freshman year, my goal was to get a 5 on that exam. So that would be the overarching goal that I used to push myself whenever I didn't want to study. And I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and every single day that I did not want to study, I looked at that piece of paper and I thought, yes, this is what I need to do. Doesn't matter if I don't feel like it. This is where discipline comes into play. In this step, I want you to have a piece of paper out, a Google Doc, and I want you to write your goals for your academic career, right? Is it to get 5s on every exam like it was for me? Is it to get a certain GPA? Is it to get a certain grade average, right? And once you have that written down, every time you don't feel like studying, look back at that goal, and that is going to provide the guidance and the motivation for you to study even whenever you don't feel like it. Step 3, you need to have a schedule. This is so key. I go over this in my other video about how to actually be consistent. Scheduling is so important, because if you do not have a schedule, you will not do it. I know you think, okay, yeah, you tell yourself when I get home from school, I'm going to study. But then you get home and you don't even know what you're studying. You don't even know where to study, right? Your room's being cleaned by your mom or something. So you don't know where to study. Your whole plan gets thrown into whack, and you're just like, you know what? I'm not gonna study. I'm gonna go play video games instead, or whatever you do, right? And so you need to have a schedule. The best way to schedule your studying is to have time blocks of exactly when you're gonna study, where you're gonna study, and what material you will be covering. An hour and a half time block for studying, that's what I recommend to you as well. Just set that time, know where you're gonna study, know what material you're gonna be covering, and then it'll be so much easier to stick to. This final step in how to study whenever you don't feel like it is going to be extreme accountability. What I mean by this is, if you have followed the steps I outlined above and you still find yourself procrastinating and not studying and your grades are suffering because of it, this is a key step. The point of this is to raise the stakes. So one way I would do this, if you have, let's say you have like $100, right? Or a good amount of money for you, just a good amount of money for you that you do not want to lose. What I want you to do is I want you to give it to a friend. Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? I'm insane. I want you to give it to a friend. I want you to tell your friend that you have a set amount of times you need to study throughout the week, whether that be 4 time blocks or 5 time blocks. However many time blocks you think you need to get the goal score that you have, tell your friend that's how many study sessions you're going to do. Give them the money, and by the end of the week, if you have not completed all of those study sessions, they get to keep the money. And yes, you need to provide proof that you actually studied. You can't just tell your friend, oh yeah, I did it, right? Because then you're not going to be held to the same level of accountability. You need to send proof of your study. So you need to send your work, maybe even like a time-lapse video of yourself focused, sitting at your desk or whatever, your focus space, putting in the effort, studying, and then that can be the proof that you send to your friend. Now, again, this step is kind of extreme. This is if nothing else is working and you really want to get that goal score and you just cannot get yourself to study. That's what I recommend, extreme accountability. It will work. Like if you're giving your friend a good amount of money, you do not want to lose that amount of money. You will get yourself to study even when you don't feel like it, trust me. Yeah, so those are my tips for those who are struggling with procrastination and getting themselves to study. This is how I would study even when I don't feel like it, right? And again, this is not going to fundamentally change the fact that you don't necessarily want to study, because there are always going to be times when you don't want to study. And if you only studied whenever you felt like it, you would not be getting good grades. The point of these tips is to make it easier for you to get into that study session even when you really don't feel like it. And trust me, you will thank yourself later. If you follow these tips and you're studying consistently and you're getting the grades you want, trust me, you're not going to regret it. So try these tips out. Thank you for coming and watching this video. Go study now. Peace out.